Hello. Welcome, everyone. We're just getting started, so we're going to give it a minute for some more people to join. But welcome to this month's Mobrium webinar. We're so glad that you could join us, and very excited to hear from our talented trainer today, Rodney Hold. We'll share a little bit more about him in a bit. But if you'd like to put in chat where you're calling in from, either the company or the state, we'd love to just get to know everybody that's here for today's session. I'm in Logan, Utah, so almost in Idaho, just north of Salt Lake. And yeah, so thank you everyone for joining. Rod, where are you at?
Today I'm dialing in from Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada, right on the edge of the Rocky Mountains. That's where I kind of, I sit, that's my home base, but I've lived all over the world. I'll share a little bit more about that. But we chose to move back to the western part of Alberta, Canada, right above Montana, and about an hour from the border, to help parents age in place and, to help them, live a little bit more independently.
That's amazing. So how warm or cold is it right now up there?
What is it? It gets about 24 Celsius, so like high 70s, low 80s.
Oh, that's nice. That's a nice time of year. My dad's actually from Canada, from Alberta. But yeah, we're down.
Which part?
Edmonton.
Edmonton. Yeah.
Yep.
That's a little further north.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm right on the edge of the Rocky Mountains. There are some hikes that I can start in Canada and end up in Glacier National Park in Montana within, 3 or 4 hours.
Cool.
So
that's awesome. Well, thanks, Trevor, Veressa, Talisha. Thanks for being here with us, Whitney. We will go ahead and get started. So today's session is Lead Like a Coach. And I'll let Rodney dive into the topic, but he'll be sharing some great leadership strategies that you can implement. And I wanted to share just a little bit about him in just a minute. But before we do that, I just want to give one reminder that our Mobrium webinar series is SHRM PDC eligible. So by Friday, you will get the follow-up email that has the activity code for you to be able to get those credits and get credit for attending this session. We do these events every single second Wednesday of the month at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. So if you want to continue learning with us and get those credits for free, we don't charge for these. Feel free to subscribe to our email lists on mobrium.com so you can know about those. But jumping into today's topic, I'm honored to be able to read Rodney's bio so you can get to know him a little bit better. Rodney Hold is a leadership and learning architect with nearly 2 decades of global experience, partnering with organizations to build coaching-centered capability frameworks that translate strategy into behavior and purposeful leaders who execute, innovate, and thrive in complexity. His work spans executive leadership, sales and frontline leader development, high-performing teams, and enterprise-wide coaching cultures across global markets. A Doctor of Leadership candidate, Rodney's research explores how leaders partner with AI as a teammate, not merely a tool, with aspirations to strengthen strategic innovation, learning agility, and decision-making while preserving deeply human judgment and empathy. So he's done a lot of incredible things. We're very grateful to have him here. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the screen over to Rodney, and we will jump into the training material for today. So thank you so much, Rodney, for sharing your wisdom with us today.
I'm so excited to work with you guys. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. A couple of things that I'll add on to this. You give yourself a professional bio, but typically what I always say is, first and foremost, I am a father, husband, and member of my community, first and foremost. And then everything else is secondary around the work and professional life. I've been richly blessed to have a career that expands over higher education, through a variety of sectors, including pharma and med tech, manufacturing and natural resources and oil and gas. I've been very fortunate to live in many parts of the world, born and raised in Canada, but then went to the US to do my undergraduate degree by way of an athletic football scholarship. But then we graduated, my wife and I, we lived across the Western United States, did a little bit of time over in Pennsylvania, and then took some global adventures where we worked out of London in the UK, we worked out of Trinidad and Tobago and other Caribbean islands, back and forth. But today we call Canada, particularly Alberta, home as we help our parents age in place. I'm really, really excited. So today, here's what I'm going to offer to you. Feel free to throw questions in the chat. I'll address them, throughout the session. I'll also hold time at the back of the session. You're welcome to turn your cameras on to give me sideways looks if I give you some, if I've said something a little bit provocative or a little bit, that makes you go, interesting more. You're also welcome to keep it off. It's your choice. This time is for you. So let me dive in. But before I do so, this world of AI, it's emerging, it's here. Every organization is looking at how to wrestle with it. And one of the great things that I have the privilege to do is I'm working with one pharmaceutical company in particular where we're developing an agentic AI engine that allows them to practice coaching. And so we've built, 7 different agentic AI personas that allow leaders who want to learn and have a coaching approach be able to run through these simulators and get feedback on their coaching. And early days in this work, but what we're seeing is, people want areas to practice. They want to get better at it. They want safe environments to make mistakes and fail. And so as you think about what we talk about today, as you lead like a coach, as you want to take a more coaching approach to influence, to build trust, strive to follow 3 things that you'll hear me say over and over again: progress over perfection, consistency over intensity, as well as curiosity over certainty. So with that, today, I want to tell you why coaching. And this is something that we continue to see. Leaders at all levels, whether they're first-line leaders, mid-level leaders, executive leaders. Here's what the research is telling us about why coaching is so important. We're seeing in organizations, when organizations have a coaching culture, when the leaders are empowered with the right mindset, skill set, and tool sets to be managers and leaders who coach, we're seeing their teams and individuals have a 25% greater performance than their peers or their counterparts in organizations who don't have a coaching culture or coaching rhythm. We're seeing those individuals who receive coaching to be 29% more committed than those that aren't, or engaged, inspired. And they're 40% more likely to stay with the organization. And any sort of initiative that can give you a 25% boost in performance, almost a 30% increase in their engagement, and a 40% increase in their ability to stay with the organization is worth paying attention to. What I want to do is when I develop learning experiences and work with organizations, both small and large, whether it's a startup or it's a global organization that operates in 25 different countries. When we think about learning and developing people, I always say, let's forget the word training. Let's think about the learning experience. And it starts with, do you have the right mindset? Do you have the right skills and capabilities? And then do you have the right playbook or tool sets to be able to use it? And often what we see is organizations are looking for efficiency and they're looking for quick wins, and they reverse the order. They're like, here's a new framework, here's a new tool, here's a new playbook, go ahead, implement and run it. Without the right skill set or capabilities to use that, we see frustration and failure. And without the right mindset, we see low adoption rates. And we don't see what we're all looking for, which is behavior change, which drives impact. So today I'm going to walk us through both the mindset to lead like a coach, some capabilities and skills that help us improve our coaching capability, and then a couple of small coaching frameworks that you can start to implement and practice in your own space, whether it's with your direct reports, whether it's with your lateral colleagues, whether it's coaching up to the leader that you report to, or even in the home. So around the mindset, here's what I believe more so than anything. Leaders bring the weather. You create the weather, and the weather you bring to your teams has a profound impact. It has a ripple effect. It transfers. And so I often say, your energy is the weather you create and bring to your teams. And this is something that we have found. A few colleagues of mine, we talk about this and we research this over and over again. The energy you bring matters. And here's why. The personal energy you bring, it's how you fuel your body, your mind, your heart, your spirit, so that you show up with curiosity, with purpose, and connection. When those three things come in, all of a sudden you have the ability to get things done that truly matter. It allows you to have focus and clarity. But make no mistake, you have to be deliberate about the energy you bring if you want to coach. And over the last number of years, we thought about like, okay, how do you grow energy? As an individual, how do I make sure I have the right physical energy, emotional energy, cognitive energy, so that I am showing up right for my team? Because my team needs me, and what I bring impacts. It has a ripple effect on them. And we find there are 6 common ways, and it's not you have to do all 6. It's your own energy formula. But here are 6 areas that we continuously find grow, maintain, and even repair energy. And the first is gratitude. Leaders who constantly look at ways to express gratitude, not only does that fuel their own energy and refuel it, but it fuels the energy in others. And I always love a great story around this. In 2004, there was a professional athlete who played on the New England Patriots. His name was Deion Branch. And the New England Patriots were in one of their many Super Bowls of that year, playing the Philadelphia Eagles. And leading up to the Super Bowl, there's 2 weeks of practice leading up to that big game. And lots of players have unhealthy ways or different ways to manage the stress and pressure leading up to that game. Well, Deion Branch took a different approach. He made a list of every single coach, every trainer, every teacher, every person who invested him in his entire career, his life, all the way down to his first coach when he was 7 years old in Pop Warner football. Made that list, and every single day leading up to that, he would text, call, or write a letter of gratitude to that individual, saying things like, thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for telling me I wasn't too small. Thank you for helping with my calculus homework so I stayed eligible and was able to earn a scholarship. All of the things that just rounded him out. And he talks about this even today as he does keynotes. Turning his focus on gratitude allowed him to stay focused and divert his energy to the things that were in his control. He was controlling his controllables. The second, and I think we cheat ourselves on this all the time as humans, is sleep. And this is the science behind sleep. Whether it's 7 hours or 9 hours, the research is clear. When we get the right number of hours of sleep, our brains transfer short-term learning into long-term memory. And only when we sleep does our brain have the ability to connect those neural pathways. And the number one disruptor of sleep in 2026 are these devices here. And so I want you to think about, if you want to be able to get up in the morning and feel good, what's your sleep pattern? And what small behavior shifts might you make? For the last 3 years, I no longer sleep with this as an alarm clock. I went on Amazon, bought a $7 clock that does 2 things, tells time and beeps. The phone is somewhere else today, and it has dramatically impacted me. The fourth, moving your body, whether it's for a walk, whether it's exercise, whatever that is. But movement is so important. In fact, Leonardo da Vinci, Mozart, and Einstein had 3 common things. They built movement into their daily practice. Each one of them took walks every single day to be able to grow their energy. And if you're someone who is a runner or is a cyclist, you would know this. You have a higher energy level and mindset after your run or bike than you did before. Second one, be curious. Ask questions. Have a learning pattern. Create a rhythm of every day of something to watch, something to read, something to listen to that inspires you, that allows you to be curious about the world around you, your organization, and the people around you. Fifth, can you create moments in your day for stillness? In a world full of distractions, how often do you set aside 5 to 15 minutes just to be still and self-reflective, whether it's box breathing, whether it's meditation, or simply just sitting and observing and letting your mind wander. We need to give those mental breaks for ourselves to be able to have clarity and focus. And the last is my favorite, to be where your feet are. Many years ago, I was in the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area, and I happened to develop a friendship with a gentleman by the name of Scott O'Neill. My brother and I went to lunch with Scott. Scott at the time was the COO of the Philadelphia 76ers. We lived in the same neighborhoods. Our kids were involved in some of the same community activities. And so a natural friendship occurred. We went to lunch and we did what friends do at lunch. We said, what are you doing what do you do on the weekend? Oh, I'm building a fence, or I'm driving my kids to another lacrosse match, or all of those things that happen. And then he turned to us and said, you two study leadership every single day. What are you learning? What are you seeing that could benefit me and my organization? So we shared a few thoughts, and he said, that's tremendously exciting. Would you come and talk to my team? Well, we're a couple of small independent consultants. The opportunity to work with an NBA franchise wasn't even in our thoughts. We grabbed our phones. We're like, Scott, what are you doing on the 17th at 3? What are you doing on the 18th at 2? What about the 19th at 4? We could work the 22nd at this time. Our faces are buried in our Outlook calendar. And we look up and Scott's smiling at us, hands in his lap from across the table. And we said, Scott, get your phone out. He says, I don't have a phone with me. I was shocked. I was like, what do you mean you have a phone? Like, you're the COO. What if somebody needs to get a hold of you? And he smiled and said, they can leave a message. He says, let me tell you what I've learned about myself. I'm a terrible multitasker. And even if I feel that buzz in my pocket or I hear it ring, all of a sudden my mind and my attention is going to go to what am I missing, or who's calling, or who's trying to get a hold of me. So I've made choices. When I'm at lunch with a friend, and I left my phone in the car. If I'm at home and having dinner with my family, I'm at home having dinner with my family. If I'm in a meeting or a one-to-one with an employee, I have to remove the distractions so I can be where my feet are to be present. Well, as he's sharing this, I'm holding my phone like, what do I do? Do I slowly put it back into my pocket? Do I hide it under the table? And he says, don't be embarrassed. He goes, I believe that every leader has to make small and deliberate choices that enable them to be where their feet are, to be in the moment. He went on to write a great book called Be Where Your Feet Are, and I always recommend it. It's a phenomenal read. So I want you to think about your energy formula. But here's the reality, and Jack Welch said this better than anybody else. He says, before you became a leader or into a managerial role, your success is all about growing yourself. How do I get better every day? The minute you become a people leader, success is about growing others. It's no longer about you contributing to the production, to the services. It's how do you amplify and develop and unleash the superpowers of others. And that is a hard thing to do, to let go of doing the work, to now being accountable and responsible for the success of others, and refocusing your energy, your mindset towards the development and coaching of others who are doing that work. And I want you to think about maybe some of the ways in which you might have done this. Now, I'm gonna share with you. In the session title, we talked about this ability to build trust. So much of being leaders, do my people trust me? Do I trust them? And I always tell people, look, trust is something. Trust is less about what you think, and it's about how people experience us. If we are face to face, I would ask you all, if you feel you're a trustworthy person, stand up. And I've done this with thousands of leaders. Everybody stands up. I'm trustworthy. And as they're standing, I'll say, now, think about every leader and manager that you've ever worked with. I want you to stay standing if you feel they were all trustworthy. You can imagine what happens. Almost everyone sits down. And I go, look, guys, what's the difference? And the reality is, our perception of our own trustworthiness really isn't what matters. It's what people experience with us. Do they experience our credibility? Do they experience our reliability? Do they experience the connection that we have with them? And at the end of the day, do they understand that I'm in it for them, or do they feel like I'm in it for myself? And if you think about those 4 variables, are you honest? Do you know your stuff? Do you say what you say and do what you say you're going to do on time? Do you spend time with people? If you have high expectations with them, do you follow up with a high degree of care? And do they know that you're in it for their success? And nobody said this better than Liz Wiseman. If you want a great read, Liz Wiseman, best-selling author for a book, Multipliers. And here's why I love it. Liz is not an academic researcher. She did a career at Oracle, and then she started looking at leaders, and she found 2 things. Think about the mindset. Some leaders believe their assumption is people won't figure it out without me. I'm so important, my knowledge, my experience, they can't do it without me. But a multiplier, she found there's a group of leaders out there who lead with this mindset. My team, my people are really smart, and they will figure it out if I create the right environment. And behind this, depending on that mindset, different disciplines or behaviors come out of it. The mindset of I'm really important and I know my stuff and people can't do this without me, they start to have some unintentional, and most of it's unintentional, where they hoard resources or they create these tense environments that almost shrink people's thinking because they don't want to get it wrong. You become that person who knows all the right answers, and you often showcase how much you know. Not intentionally, it's unintentional behavior. But on the flip side of this, multipliers all of a sudden become a talent magnet. Because they invest in others and they believe in others, people want to work with them. They want to be on projects. They want to join that team. And it's because they create environments that are intense, that require people's best thinking and work. They challenge people. They set out these challenging opportunities that cause people to stretch. And then they give us this environment to do so. They create debate. Rather than making every decision on their own, they're like, look, here's the choice we have to make. I want all your insights. And then they weigh those out and make the best decision forward. But most importantly, they invest. They give people ownership for the results and invest in their purpose. Daniel Pink, follow him on LinkedIn. He'll say, what do people want? They want autonomy, the ability to do their work and do it well and do it in ways that make sense to them. They want the ability to have mastery. Meaning, digital camera jumps in on my finger point. They want to be able to do their job well, and they want to do work that fulfills purpose. Multipliers are able to help develop autonomy and mastery and purpose, and that has more incentive, more influence than traditional carrot and stick incentives and rewards all the time. So as leaders, we often have 4 basic approaches in how we work with our teams. We give people feedback, we give people clear direction or directing, we mentor them, and we coach them. And oftentimes, and I see this over and over again, we're not clear on which ones we're in. All of them are needed, but they're uniquely different. And so I'll walk you through this really quick. When we think about feedback, it's often reinforcing or redirecting behaviors. We're often saying, you've done it this way, I need to redirect you to do it this way, or I'm going to reinforce. You did this really well, do more of it. And the mindset we have is, I'll help you gain insight by providing what I observed. And it starts with phrases like this: I noticed, or I observed this last week. Let me tell you the impact of this, and let me now give you some redirection or some suggestions. And it shows up in the field of I observe and I discuss. But the reality is, who owns that responsibility? You as a leader. You have to be constantly in that observed behavior. You're owning the process of providing that feedback. We're all familiar with giving clear directions. It's authoritative instructions or actions. It's because you know how, or the policy or the procedure knows how. It starts with like, hey, we need to do it this way. There's no deviation from this. We require some compliance. Again, the energy, the ownership of this sits as you as a leader. Now, mentoring often gets confused. Often we think we're coaching and we're mentoring. And it's giving advice, it's guiding, it's counseling. Often the mindset is, let me offer you the benefit of what I know, my experience. I've been in this role. I fought those fires. I've hit those pitfalls. Let me share this. And we say things like, I can help by sharing how I navigated this or how I've done it. And it's guidance and it's advice. But again, that effort sits on us. Only when we get into a coaching moment, we start to think about this. We're helping somebody think for themselves. We're helping them find their own solutions and act on their own energy. It starts with our mindset that I'm curious and believe a great solution lies within whomever I'm coaching or my employee. You're smart, you're talented. Inside it's something there. We're going to unlock it. We're going to unleash your superpowers. And it starts with things, us leading with questions. Where are you stuck? What could you try? What else? It's a questioning approach as opposed to a telling approach. And the result is it enables people to be and perform at their best by eliciting their own solutions. And only here, we're transferring the energy and ownership to that individual. I'm responsible to set up the environment and ask questions. They're doing the work of finding the solutions, actioning them, and reporting back on this. We're creating capacity for ourselves. So when I think about this, I love these all four of these, and they're great. Feedback needs to be clear and actionable. Coaching is a method that says, I'm going to ask more and I'm going to tell less. As the leader, I'm going to lead with insightful questions and I'm going to speak less. I'm going to ask and I'm going to listen. And often, and I'm happy to dive into this, later on or another session, you can reach out to me. There's two types of feedback. Reinforcing, which means I like what you're doing, do more of this. It requires you to lead with the art of noticing. I'm going to look for the things that my team is doing right, and I'm going to create environments that allow them to do it more often. And we know Gallup has told us that going unrecognized, if people aren't recognized for their great efforts and their great work, they're 3 times more likely to quit. And almost 80% of the people who do quit, when we ask them why, it's because they didn't feel appreciated. They didn't feel like anyone was noticing the work they were doing. On the other side of it, there's times where we have to give redirective feedback that says, hey, this was great, but it would be even better if you took a different approach. It might be, I need you to start doing more of this and stop doing this. It corrects and inspires better outcomes behaviors. But our most impactful leaders who lead as a coach are really clear. They strive to find some sort of imbalance. 5 times a week, they're going to give more reinforcing than redirective, meaning they're looking for the things they're doing right, but they're also being very selective on where we need to do some redirective or corrective feedback. And this gets people where they start to build trust. I know my leader believes in me. They tell me the things I'm doing well. So when there's a chance for redirective or an even better if, I know it's coming from a place of they want me to be better. When we're thinking about mentoring, here's what I love. Like, there's so many shared capabilities between coaching and mentoring. And as I said, often we think we're coaching and we're mentoring. And it's because they're so close in nature. Some of the shared skills between coaching and mentoring: empathy, trust, being able to listen. I call it courageous listening. I'll double down on that in a minute. Creating sense making and curiosity. But here's where they're different. Coaches lead with powerful questions. Mentors will story tell about their experience and share. Coaching facilitates self-reflection. Mentoring is about guiding and giving advice. In coaching, I'm helping them set goals and helping them be accountable to their own goals. I'm role modeling in mentoring. I'm transferring knowledge. And often in a coaching moment, you're neutral on the options or solutions that people generate to solve problems. You're like, great. If you can own that and it gets to the right outcome, I'm aligned with you. And so I often ask people, you need to do both, but where are you comfortable? And more often than not, when people really are self-reflective, they often realize, wait a minute, I've been mentoring when I thought I've been coaching. I've been sharing my experience and my advice. I have not been asking questions and listening and unlocking the brilliance and solutions and ideas of those other. And so I want you to think about just your own behaviors. Where are you at on the scale? And you can even throw it in the chat. Like, I'd love to hear from you thinking about this. If I were to say, look, where's your level of comfort, feedback, directing, mentoring, coaching? What's your default? When there's pressure, when there's deadlines and deliverables, what's that default method? And where do you want to double down on? Where would you like to be? So, mindset and skill sets and tool sets to be a better coach. Now that we've seen the differences between these, and again, I think all four are really important. There's a use and space for all four. But my experience is most of us aren't coaching. We think we are, and we're either giving feedback, we're either directing, or we're mentoring, and we're saying we're coaching. So here's the art and science of coaching. Coaching is a thinking partnership. We create environments that allow people to think, to create, to ideate. And we do that by asking questions. Coaching builds capability, not dependency. If people are bringing to me challenges and I'm like, okay, let's coach you through this, and I'm giving the answer, I'm building dependency. If I'm leading with questions, say, what do you think? What have you tried? What options do you think are available to us? I'm now building their capacity and their ability to think. And the number one reason people don't coach, and I ask this all the time, what's the number one reason people don't coach their teams, their direct reports? The answer is time. That's more often. And so here's what I believe. We give time to our priorities. And when people say, I don't have time to coach, I'll often say, I want you to say this in your mind because it doesn't taste good coming out of your mouth out loud. My people, coaching my people is not a priority. Nobody wants to say that, but we give time and energy to our priorities. And so when I become a leader, my priority is not doing the work. My priority is the success and development of my team. How do I make that shift every day, that mindset shift that I'm going to create and put time into those coaching and those conversations in building connection? And coaching isn't something we do some of the time. Coaching happens in the flow of work. It's a consistent rhythm. And I always recommend to people, what's your coaching cadence? Is it once a week? Is it twice a week? Is it once a month? Is it consistent? Are you building this into your one-to-ones? Are you building in a 15-minute coaching moment? Yeah, in your one-to-ones, they need to tell you where they're at on projects. They need to be able to give you updates. You need to update them. But then are you creating 15 or 20 minutes to be like, okay, we're going to shift in coaching. What problems are you facing? What's most important to you now? Can I coach you on what matters most to you for the next 15 or 20 minutes? So here's the reality. It builds decision quality. It improves judgment of our employees. It strengthens the confidence in ambiguous moments. And believe me, we are in ambiguous moments. We're in an environment that is brittle, that is ambiguous, that is nonlinear, and sometimes incomprehensible. But coaching strengthens self-confidence in those moments. It drives long-term performance versus short-term corrections. It helps people get better over a long period of time and helps them excel at their craft, to own their craft. And my belief is, if feedback corrects and reinforces performance, mentoring shares knowledge and experience, then coaching expands capacity and capability. And when you as leaders, when you start to integrate a combination of all three, we start to see real behavior change. So the most widely tool set in coaching used that I see around the world is the GROW model, originally created by Graham Alexander and Alan Fine and Sir John Whitmore, great individuals. And it's a simple framework. Every coaching conversation, I'm going to follow this acronym. I'm going to help them identify what's the goal, what's the reality, what are the options, and what's your way forward. But I'm going to do it not by telling, but by asking more questions and telling less. I'm going to lead with a question approach. And the second number one inhibitor, aside from time to coach that holds people back, is I don't know the right questions to ask. And so when you think about this, starting with just the goal and the reality, It can be as simple questions are, what's the outcome that you want from our discussion today? What's your goal today? Where do you want to improve? What problems are you trying to solve? What's the real challenge for you? What do you want to, and then define what success looks like. And here's the art of coaching. It's important for us to ask and courageously listen. There's nothing more frustrating when we ask and all of a sudden there's silence. They're thinking, it's awkward. People are like, oh, I don't know what to do. And as a leader, we're like, okay, I'm going to help you out and I'm going to maybe just get the ball rolling and throw some ideas on the table. Soon as we throw those ideas on the table, we've shifted from coaching into mentoring or advice giving or giving direction. And so the reality of becoming a better coach, to lead like a coach, is be kind to yourself as a human. It's our human instinct when people bring us problems to solve the problems. Our mindset shift is, I won't solve this problem. I'm going to create an environment that helps you solve this problem. I'm going to unlock your potential by asking better questions. And when you start thinking about the reality, these are questions like, what's currently going on? What are the variables? What have you tried? What's worked? What hasn't worked? Where are you stuck? What's the sense of the gap or the obstacle to reaching the goal? And then there's the most inspiring, psychologically safe, empowering question. People will tell you what they feel is safe to tell you. And you listen, and then you say, and what else? And that gives them permission to tell you the stuff that really matters, the stuff they're really struggling with. Because just by saying, and what else, means I really want to know. Now, as you go through this, you think about options. You've got, the reality, the goal, you want to get here, and here's our current reality. We're going to try to ask questions that help them create options. And the biggest barrier for leaders that shift them back to mentoring or advice giving is they think they know the answer. Oh, I've seen this before. I've solved this before. I know the right way. I want you to remember, there are so many ways to solve the problems that we face in our organizations. We can go over it. We can go under it. We can go around it. And at the end of the day, unless there's a compliance or a regulatory, lens over top of this, sometimes the way in which we get to the outcome really doesn't matter if they own it. And that's what we're trying to do, is transfer ownership to solutions. And so if you think about this now, I'll give you this deck. You can take screenshots of these questions. These are simple questions. They get better as, you can start to develop your own as you get comfort in this. But when we get to options, you want to ask things like, what strategies could you use to overcome each obstacle? What's the benefit or, pros or cons of these options? What might get in the way of you eliciting or driving that option forward? And what else? And only at the end, if they can't come up with an idea on their own, I will lead with a question. Would you like suggestions from me? Rather than telling them, here's what I would do, would you like a suggestion from me? They can say yes. They can say, no, I just need more time. And if they say yes, here's 3 things I would have you think about. Then you put it back to them. Which one of those do you think you could take forward? Again, you're always empowering with the art of questions. Remember, as soon as we want to give advice, we stop coaching. And all of us, when we see these problems or situations, we're like, oh, I know the solution. We want to keep the advice monster in the closet. If it creeps up and you're like, hey, I know I got some advice. If you just did this, it would just keep it in the closet. Because the minute you provide advice, you're taking their autonomy and their ownership away. And so think of your advice as a last resource. When it's absolutely exhausted, would you like some suggestions or would you like some guidance or advice from me? And give them the ownership to say yes or no. Now, another framework, I'll give you 2, the GROW model, and I'm going to give you this. This comes from what I think every leader needs on their corner of the desk. It's called the coaching habit. Say less, ask more, change the way you lead forever. It is not an intense read, as you can see, it's pretty big letters and bold letters. It is a handbook, a field guide that helps you lean into coaching. And the reason I like this is often we have 7 essential coaching questions. If you did anything else, start a coaching session with this. The kickstart question, what's on your mind? The second question, and what else? The third question, what's the real challenge here for you? Because you ask somebody what's on their mind and what else, you got a wide spectrum. But when you ask, what's the real challenge here for you, you're now starting to create that focus. And then there's the foundation. What do you want? What's the outcome you want out of this coaching session? Now we're starting to go from exploration, understanding into decision-making and reflection. If there's a struggle, you can ask the lazy managerial question, which is, how can I help? Again, you're still leading with questions. And again, I'm all about psychological safety and empowerment. Great leaders will do this. If you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? Give people permission to let things go if you're asking them to solve some of those wicked problems in front of them. It's not just do more. It's, if you say yes to this, what can you pause? The image, I always tell people, we're all juggling balls. 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 balls in the air, and I'm a master juggler. Some of those balls are made of rubber, and some are made of glass. Meaning, if I'm saying yes to the glass ones, because if they drop, they break. Can I let a rubber one bounce a few times, solve a glass one, and then bring it back into the flow? And just asking your team, which of these can bounce, and which of these, if we didn't do, would break and we'd have problems. Last few things. You want to improve your coaching? Start with a micro question. Is now a good time for us to have a coaching session? You have no idea what they experienced 5 minutes before they came into your office or joined a virtual meeting. They could be having an amygdala hijack from a colleague, from a customer, from a client, or from something at home. But by saying, is now a good time, you're giving them permission to say, no, but tomorrow or 3 hours from now, I'll be in the right mindset. Listen courageously. And this is what this means. Most of us, when we're coaching, we're listening to respond. I've asked a question, they're repeating, they're telling me some solutions, some ideas, they're giving me context. And in my head, I'm like, when it's my turn to talk, here's how I'll respond. But courageously listening says, I'll listen to understand. And when I listen to understand, what follows naturally is another question. It might be, that's really interesting. Tell me more about that. I'm interested to learn more about perspective. Why do you see it that way? What am I not seeing that you are? Ask questions one at a time. As leaders, sometimes we put 3 questions in one. What's your goal? What have you tried? What's the outcome you want to achieve? Short, simple questions are easy to understand. And that way they don't be like, do I answer the first part, the second part, or the middle part? Check for understanding. Let me play back what I've heard you say. Thanks for sharing that. Here's what I've heard. Did I get that right? Yeah, absolutely. Or no, you missed this. And here's the bonus. Coaching is hard. You will not be great at it. Focus on progress over perfection. Don't let our need to do it perfectly get in the way of a good start. Fail forward, iterate, be self-reflective. What's working, what doesn't work. Team, throw your questions in the chat if you have them, or come off mute and ask them. But as you do this, here's 3 things I want you to take away. Small behavior shifts can make a big impact. Just by simply asking more and telling less, you'll be profound at how you start to unlock and connect better when you lead with questions. Be intentional about when you coach, when you need to give feedback, when you're mentoring, or when you're giving clear direction. Be clear. I'm going to give clear direction here. Be clear with yourself. This is a coaching moment. Here's an opportunity for feedback. And remember, you create the weather. How you show up matters. So you need to do a little bit of self-care to grow, maintain, and repair your energy. So you show up because it transfers. It has a ripple effect on your teams. Progress over perfection, consistency over intensity, and my favorite that just went away, curiosity over certainty. Can I believe that I don't know everything? And can I lead with what do they know that I need to learn from them? In the chat, you're welcome to put in a few things that you took out from this session. But look, team, any questions? Quiet group.
Hi, Rodney.
Hi, Vanessa. Vanessa?
Yep. How are you?
I'm amazing.
Awesome. This was fantastic. So thank you. And I see I've got all kinds of things that are showing up in the background, my flip chart of all ideas.
Listen,
so
somewhere behind me, and if I move my chair back, I've got a dog sleeping on his bed right there. So we all have things in our background.
That's super. So thanks so much. This has been tremendous for me. I'm actually in a conversation now as I've transitioned from one role and looking at my next around coaching. And so many things popped up for me as you were talking. And one of them for me is the courageous listening, being comfortable with the silence and transferring ownership. So that's a really powerful reminder around that. And also noting the difference between mentoring and coaching and making sure that the person on the receiving end who may have reached out to you, I'll often get, whether it's leaders or friends or my 20-year-old reaching out and saying, hey, what about this? And the need to pause and say, okay, so help me understand what it is you'd really like from me, because what I find a lot of times is what folks say they want can be different than what they really want. So it's, maybe the words that are used are, I'd like some coaching. And in reality, I want you to tell me what to do. Yeah. And which is not the goal, to your point. So thanks. That was a big one for me, is to continue down that track of asking the questions that help to, one, help the individual see that they can own it. They've got the ability, even though they may not feel like it. And then to make sure that I'm not trying to take it on. So thanks for that.
You're welcome. Love it. Appreciate it. Thank you for that. Team, here's what I'll offer. Connect with me on LinkedIn. And here's what I always share for people. You are welcome to connect with me. Anytime I do a session with people, I'm like, we're no longer just acquaintances. We're colleagues. And as colleagues, we build a community practice together. So connect with me on LinkedIn. Reach out. I'm always happy to interact. If you have questions or you're like, hey, how do I start to bring this to my organization? I can give you some self-solutions. I can give you some options to partner with us. I can help be a colleague to you to help you reach your goals. So thank you for your time. So excited to continue networking, and never hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. And man, this was a packed session. Rodney, you shared some incredible things. Really appreciate that. Just want to highlight one comment from Whitney, and then we'll wrap up. Whitney said that it's not just about your leadership coaching, but it's also about tapping into the team's knowledge and involvement. Sharing ownership with the team keeps everyone engaged in facilitating collective efficiency. Very insightful and interactive. So thank you. And just as a heads up, this is our training next month. So we have Lynn Ann Erickson from Track Talent, and she's going to be talking about how your hiring practices reflect your company culture and impact your reputation and employer brand. So that's also going to be a really exciting one. And then last note, just want to say thank you for tuning in for the Mobrium webinars. At Mobrium, we help you with your online ratings and reviews on sites like Glassdoor and Indeed. So if you need any help strengthening those as a true reflection of your culture, let us know. We do a free audit of how things are going right now and can help you take a look at that. So thank you, everyone. We'll wrap it up for today. Really appreciate your time. And we will send out the follow-up by Friday, and it will have Rodney's connection information as well for you to keep the conversation going. So thank you, everyone.